Hi everyone. I just thought I'd share a few reflections about bar consort playing, and this is a few notes that I made when we'd come back from teaching at Benzo. Had a great time coaching viols there, and we're off to Dartington in a couple of weeks, so my mind is turning towards bar coaching again. So basically the stand was really good at Benzo, so I wasn't doing basic things, and playing together was great, people listen well. So it's just a few little things that came up on a few occasions in case they're useful. The first thing was just encouraging people to keep their sound a bit freer, which is basically using a bit more bow, just laying into the bow, swinging your arm a bit more, keeping the same sound even when you're going high, unless you want to change it, but really being able to make that same free sound even in the higher positions. So just keeping an eye that the sound doesn't change in a way that you don't want it to, because you might be a bit apprehensive or something like that. Keeping a free sound when you're tuning is another little thing that is really useful. So don't tune either with a very slow bow or with the kind of repeating notes like that. Just long free bows, and you'll find it quicker and easier to tune. And the other thing, just keeping it free, is when you're starting to play, don't start from a very static position. So imagine you're leading in people, even if you're actually, starting a line on your own or whatever, but just don't start from static, because that will encourage you to breathe and think about the rhythm of the music before you start. So that might be a useful thing. With phrasing and making shapes and things like that, obviously one thing is just kind of encouraging people to make the shapes as obvious as possible. Think of words. So if you had a little idea that you're starting with, make sure you make the shape really clear if it's an idea that's going to be passed around between parts. So don't kind of have a default dynamic or default bow speed. Really try and have it in your mind immediately so that you can make the great shapes. With 5 and 6 part music, obviously exaggerate the diminuendos when you want to get out of the way to let others through, because the challenge there is with the very thick texture, trying to really show from the outside what's going on in the music. A few little technical things, which was mainly thinking ahead when you're shifting, and thinking ahead with string crossing, so that your right arm is already thinking about what string it's going to, so it's there in advance, which will just make the string crossings clearer and enable you to make them smoother as well if you want them to. Little things about posture. Obviously, when you're suddenly playing in a group, there's so much to think about. Your posture can probably just tend to be not quite as good as when you're on your own, so you can kind of end up sort of creaking forward or bending over a bit more. So if you use the rests or between movements, you just stack yourself up again, sort of hips, shoulders, neck, keep that lift, and then that will obviously have a good impact on your sound as well. The last thing I wrote down was just for tuning, sometimes on your last chords, if you play on a stop note down the bottom, it can just sound a bit muddy in the last chord. So for your last chords, if they're not really ringing true and someone is playing a stop note down the bottom and they can substitute for an open string, try with more open strings and you might get a more ringing sound. So all little things, but if anything is useful and it just helps you have an even more musical experience when you're playing consorts, then that would be great. Thanks then, bye.